welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you on. And just as I was saying before I press record, it's fantastic to have a better voice than mine, at least. And I'm still up for that exchange program if you are.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate every platform that gives me an opportunity to tell my story. So thank you.
No, it's a real pleasure. And you're currently in Toronto, is that correct?
Yeah, born and raised in Toronto, and that's where I am today. It's a beautiful day. It's 25 degrees outside. It's hot. The sun is shining, so can't complain.
Hey, you know what? That's lucky because actually in the UK, it's very hot today. It's like a heat wave. It's about 26 here as well.
That's so rare. I think you guys have like a week of summer. And
yeah, that is really, really rare. So it's good to have you out. Like you said, we're here. The sun's out. We're going to have a fantastic conversation. I know you've just recently released a new single. We'll talk about that, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
That's how the game works, right? That's what you want to talk about. But also, I like to talk about people's history, and especially someone who would have a very different sort of upbringing than mine, in a different country, different influences, and I like to try and connect on some level. There must be some similarities, or
definitely.
We're both Asian, and so it's got to be something. But so you said you was born and brought up in Toronto, fantastic place, by the way. So what was that like growing up in terms of a Desi culture, hip hop culture, or what was your influences growing up?
Well, I mean, the one thing that you got to take into consideration is the proximity of Toronto to America. So the land border separating New York State and Toronto is literally 60 to 90 minutes drive. So, Niagara Falls separates Canada, Ontario, which is Toronto, to New York State. So being that close, that's Big Brother. America is Big Brother. So the marketing machine, which is America, the influence it has around the world, but you can only imagine the influence that it has on something that's literally 60 minutes away driving. So we were growing up, especially in the 90s, you're heavily influenced by American hip hop, more so, which we can get into later. Like me and Roach literally immigrated to England to make our careers and spent a lot of years in the UK. So it was really interesting seeing the juxtaposition between British Asian culture and Canadian, Indo-Canadian culture. So, for myself, for people like Roach, for guys that are urban and in hip hop, we were heavily influenced. And that was the era of like Wu-Tang Clan, Mobb Deep, like that early 90s boom bap hip hop really played a big role. I grew up in the West End of Toronto in a city called Mississauga. I guess you could equate it to like the Harrow, the Hayes, the Hounslow of of Canada. So a lot of South Asians, and obviously over the years there's a lot more than there was before as immigration picks up. But there was always racism. I remember growing up in the late 80s, early 90s when we were going to primary school. If you weren't white, they would stick you into a program called ESL, which is English as a Second Language, just automatically. They wouldn't even. And we're born and raised there, so it was really interesting the dynamic of the systemic racism that was so subtle back in the day,
Wow.
So grew up. Yeah.
They will put you in a class called English as a Second Language.
Yeah. So out of the day, so say if you're in school for let's just say 8 hours, out of that they would take one period. And for like an hour or so, and shifting to a class with all the other minority children back then, and you were all in ESL,
all talking English.
Yeah, but we're all talking English, right?
What the fuck are you doing in there? Yeah. I don't know.
That's exactly what it was like, So, I think all over the world, the systemic racism was always subtly there. And obviously, you get called words like we could swear on this, right?
Yep, absolutely. I've already done it, so feel free.
So, growing up, you get called words like Paki, stuff like that, or people make fun of your father, your uncle, and them because they have a turban or a beard or they look different. But I think everybody faced that in the 80s and the 90s, And now the area that I live in is so heavily minority influenced that Caucasians are the minorities. Canada has become such a melting pot of different cultures. We grow up, you know, and obviously the older you get going to high school, our friends are all West Indian. Toronto has a very big West Indian influence.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, Jamaicans, Trinidadians, Guyanese, you know, and then you mix that with Indian, Pakistani people, and then you mix that with all types of Arabs and Saudi Arabians. Like, and so you grow up eating all different types of food. You know a little bit of swear word in every language, you know, and so and that heavily ends up influencing who you are as an artist.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I could see, because I remember being obviously growing up in the UK, the Bhangra scene in the UK, especially the 80s and 90s and just toward the 2000s. And we would look to Canada, and Canada was very big into remixing, and the remixings were sort of Deep Jandu and hip hop. And right. And the covers were always it's always a marijuana leaf on the cover, and not always, but mostly, right? And generalizing here, right?
Yeah, Deep Jandu presents marijuana tape. Yeah.
But from the UK, we'd always look at Canada, and we'd always think, yeah, they seem to be slightly behind the trends, you know, with arrogance, a bit of arrogance. And in a sense, it's probably true, because the UK at that time, probably in the world, was busting out some fantastic music, and even India
100%.
was looking at the UK, especially Birmingham and South, with likes of Hida, and you know, we got Apna Sangeeta, Larp, and all them guys, right? And I remember that. But there was a pivotal moment for me, Blitz, right, when this kind of changed. It's got to be when Juggy D turned up, because when he came to the UK, he had this style that we just thought, what the hell is he wearing? Because he had dungareens on. And obviously for yourself, you probably knew this kind of style and clothes. And, you know, he had his hair was sort of stuck up here. He had earrings on. And we just thought, this is so weird, right? But the guy was amazing, obviously, right? And he absolutely smashed. And it changed the imagery of UK Bhangra music. Because before that, it was sequin tops and headbands, which are still cool, right? Because I've had a few of them, a few of the guys on the show, right? So they're my heroes, right? But I think that's where Canada started to find its place. That mixture between hip hop, Desi music, and amalgamating them two together to produce something more authentic than probably the UK could have done. Because, like you said, you're an hour away from the US. You're so much closer, and that's, I think, the point it started to change, really. And you know, I don't think we could have artists like you and say Roach as well, probably from the UK. We have a few, obviously, but I think you guys are very unique for us in the UK, definitely.
Yeah, I think you know, not to take Juggy D, because he was from Canada. But, you know, Juggy D, nobody was really, till this day, has their hair like Juggy D. That wasn't like a Canadian style, you know?
Right, okay.
But yeah, the overalls, and you could definitely tell his style is inspired by hip hop. You know, the jewelry, even his hand movements in the videos and stuff, like he's very hip hop influenced. So but I think the turning point for people like me and Roach was an individual from the UK. I don't think any of this would be possible if it wasn't for Apache Indian. You know, I know Roach has avidly spoke about it, that when he heard Move Over India and Juggy D, that changed his life. When I was a little kid, my mom was taking me to the Asian grocery stores to, you know, buy roti or atta or whatever she was buying at the time. To get me to behave, she'd be like, okay, listen, I'll buy you something if you don't cause a muck in the store. And I'd say, okay. And I remember specifically, as I went up to the counter, they obviously only had Asian tapes. And I looked, and, you know, I did see, you know, the traditional Bhangra singers, but when I looked and I saw a guy that looked like me, shaved head, chain on, plain t-shirt, it was the Juggy D single. I said, Mom, give me this. I didn't even know what it was. I just bought it. And when I listened to it, that was mind-blowing, because Juggy was still doing traditional folk music, be it as it may, that the beats were somewhat inspired by hip hop, or a bit more, you know, But at the end of the day, Jazzy B to Apache Indian is night and day. They're two totally different streams, you know. And when Apache came on the scene, he is solely responsible for birthing the Roach Killas, the Blitzkriegs, the Bohemias, and whoever, the Yo-Yo Honey Sings, the Badshahs. Like, there would be none of this if it wasn't for Apache coming in, breaking down those doors, and showing young kids at the time that, hey, it is possible to be Asian, you know, sweet like jalebi. Like, who, the man said, yo, she's sweet like jalebi. And at the time, it's such a simple line now. Like, as a lyricist, if somebody said that to me on the street now, I'd probably be like, dude, that's so elementary and corny. But at the time, it's like, man, he has a rap reggae song and he's using a direct metaphor that I can relate to. I have jalebis in the kitchen right now, and they are sweet. Yeah. You know, and so it was those type of things, you know, that or the fear one day that your parents are going to get you, you know, I mean, you're a kid. You don't know any better. Are my parents going to force me to get an arranged marriage? I hope not. And he comes out with a song.
Yeah.
And, you know, the best part of this, at the end of the song, his last line in the song is, but when is the right time to tell me girlfriend? And you say, whoa, this guy's like us. He probably has a girlfriend out here and his parents are pressuring him to get an arranged marriage. And he's like, this is the contemplation that's going on in his head is, how am I going to break this news to my girlfriend that I know you're my girlfriend, but mom and dad say I got to get married to some girl back home. You know, so that juxtaposition is really what birthed the whole urban Desi scene, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's the whole point of talking to you, because we're looking at different lenses, right? And
right.
I used to be in a Bhangra band in the UK, right?
Okay.
And so my whole outlook on music is Bhangra influence, right? So, but it's amazing to hear from you. Of course, you know, and now you've told me, of course, it was Apache Indian. You know, of course, you know, and even when he came out in the UK with that cassette, and it was so different. It was different. Even in the UK, we were thinking, what is this? And it just blew up. His first single just blew up, you know. He never looked back after that. And the guy, I interviewed Hunters, it was my last show, right? And he's working with Apache at the moment.
Yeah.
And he goes, he's still hungry. He goes, he still wants to come in and make great music. He goes, his energy is still there. He goes, he doesn't really need to, because he's got that legendary status, really, hasn't he, if you think about it, right?
Of course, yeah.
But he's still out there, he's still making music. And so when you heard him, Blitz, you was thinking, was it, I want to do this? Was it as suddenly as that, or when did this sort of writing? Because I know on your bio you've written you're a spoken word poet.
Yeah.
Now, what is there a big difference between that and rapping, or are all rappers spoken word poets?
I mean, it depends on, you know, the message that you convey in your music. Do you have substance in your music? Obviously, and then it's the way you deliver it, what you emphasize, how you emphasize it, the cadence. Because when you're rapping on a beat, you have to have a certain cadence and a beat, and you have to keep up with the beat, and you have to land on the bar. It's a measurement, right? It's a time measurement. And if you're not hitting the bar, people are like, man, you sound weird, you sound off. But when it's a cappella, I could take the exact same 16 bars that have a message in it, but there's no beat. It's just me and the microphone, and I can emphasize. I can put long pauses. I'm not worrying about hitting that fourth bar, that 4/4 time. I'm not worried about following the percussion beat. I'm more worried about, how do I connect with this audience? Let me engage with these people. And if in the middle of the bar I need to pause to make a certain word, you know, captivize the audience a bit more, I can do that. I have the freedom to do that. But, you know, what really started me doing it was Apache realizing that Asians are doing this and you can kind of blend it. But, you know, it was just, I would always misbehave in school. So, surprise. Yeah. But basically what happened is the teacher would say, listen, if you behave yourself for the entire day, at the end of the day, I'll give you 15 minutes to get up in front of the class and perform. So I would get up in front of the class in 5th and 6th grade, and I would rap. And then I would put on these performances. And then later I learned how to play guitar. So sometimes instead of rapping, I would sit in front of the class and I would play a Nirvana or a Guns N' Roses song on the guitar. You know, it was just always the performance. And then from there, I started writing poetry for kids that had crushes on girls. So me and my friend, he was a great drawer, so like an artist. So he would draw the cover, and I would write a poem, and then we'd sell them for like $2-3 at lunchtime, you know, for money, like pizza money or something like that. But it just stayed with that, and then from there, it just, you know, in the 90s, it was such a big, hip hop was such a big street culture. So that standing on the street corner, you know, that stuff you guys see on the movies, it's foreign because it's not from the UK, but from here, that's a normal thing. Hanging out on a park bench with your friends, you know, drinking, just freestyling all night, the Timberlands on your feet, the hoodie, the hats, you know, that's the way we grew up. So it was just like that. Like that's what really got me into it. At first, it was just my teachers kind of used it as a way to keep me concentrating in school, to allow me to rap. But then after a while, you know, I noticed that I was the guy that the entire school would be like looking forward to my performances. Yeah. And then, you know, then you'd go to the lunchroom and you'd be like, I'll freestyle battle you. I heard you rap. Let's battle right now. And then after school, and then you go to different schools and battle other people. And then you just build a name for yourself in the area.
That's interesting. Yeah, you're right, because it's not really a UK thing, especially my time when I was younger. I mean, the only people who sat on benches and drinking and singing were homeless people. But but now it's slightly changed though now, Blitz, especially in London. Yeah, the younger kids are kind of doing that now, you know, and it for us it's kind of romantic to view that you did do that. You was sitting around chatting, and that I think that's where true poems come out from, your real lived experiences. This is, you know, you're not trying to make up stories. These are your stories. This is your life, you know. And it seems like you was a very confident kid to be wanting to perform. Did you kind of have a lot of energy, and your family were like, look, I hope you focus on something, because you kind of all, you're saying you got in a little bit of trouble when you was younger as well. Was you kind of hyperactive slightly?
You know what it is like, it's me and the people I hang out with, whether it's Roach or Santosh or any of these local artists that I hang out with, the one thing that we have in common is we come from not your typical South Asian home. We come from broken homes, or we come from highly volatile home situations. We come from low income homes. Obviously, you know, loving homes as well, but it's you know, I thought that was normal until I got older. When you start going to at first I thought it was normal, and then I thought, hey, wait a minute, this is not normal, but it's a Desi thing. You know, it's a Punjabi Desi thing. All Punjabi Desi households must be like this. And it wasn't until I started going over to my other friends' houses and I started realizing, no, man, this is not normal, you know. And then obviously when you're young, you don't know you're poor. You grow up in council estates or buildings, we call them, like apartment buildings and stuff, and you don't ever really know the difference, because, you know, kudos to my parents and most people's parents, they shelter you from the fact that you don't know you're poor. Everyone has a bike. You just don't know that your bike is secondhand or broken, or you know what I mean? But as you grow older, you know, a lot of that plays into the mischievousness, you know, never wanting to be home, being on that park bench all night, drinking and rapping with your friends because you don't want to go home, and because you know home is a turmoil place. And maybe when you're 14, 15, 16, you don't realize the psychological effects or the PTSD of that. It's not until you're a grown man, you know, I'll sit with my brother, and he didn't get into music, but he would always be out as well. And, you know, me and him would sit and be like, you know, he said to me, he's like, you know, why do you think we were never home? We're always out because we were scared to go home. We would go home after dad fell asleep. So when you're constantly on the street, it wasn't that I was being pushed by my parents like, oh, do music. Hell no. You know, it was one of those situations where I was just out all the time, running around, trying to do anything but go home, because you're scared to go home. And with that, what else are you going to do sitting on a park bench? You're going to eventually try time of sitting drinking. You'll hear music. First, you're listening to music, then you're reciting the songs of other people. And then from there, you start making your own songs. And that's just, it was just something I did to kill time. And I was always very confident, and I was never afraid of confrontation, because there's no confrontation that can scare me more than the confrontation that's at home. So if I'm already scared of somebody that's, you know, a giant to me, I'm definitely not going to be scared of somebody that is my size. So, and that led into like the battle thing too. Is like, okay, I'm not afraid to rap against you. Let's do this. We're not even going to fight. Okay, cool. You just want to rhyme words with me? Okay, cool. Let's do this, right? So I think, and that's what's really led a lot of artists like me and Roach or any of these other guys that I work with. You know, even when I come to UK, like the friends that I stay with, like, you know, not to name them, I don't want to put them out there, but they all come from disenfranchised households too. So when I would come to the UK, I'd be staying with my friends on Edgware Road in the council estates. Not just because I feel comfortable in the flats. I where someone else is kind of like, oh, this is not the Hilton, this is not the JW Marriott, you know. But I like that. I don't know. It was just I think that's kind of what encouraged the confidence and the confrontationalism.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. You remember at the beginning of the show, I said to you, obviously you're in Toronto, I'm here in the UK, and I try and connect with you on some level, and we're both Asian. And I kind of got into Bhangra music, and I joined a band, and because of the same situation as you, because I didn't want to be at home, and because of my dad, and he was a super heavy drinker, and I didn't want to go home because he's either going to be arguing with my mom, he's going to be drunk, and it's just too much. And I found escapism through music by doing you know, weddings and gigs. Just I could stay out all the weekend. My attendance at school was 100%. I remember good 2 years in a row, 100%. So I didn't want to, even if I was
you don't want to be home.
I don't want to be home.
You don't even if home,
I was and I remember that. And there is anger and resentment, and you kind of look at other people and think, fucking, they seem all right, don't they? Why can't my family life be normal? I just want to be normal, right? And do you think you use that kind of aggression, in a sense, internal aggression, in your writing? Did that come out in your poems, or was it when you battle rapping? Was you really aggressive with them? You know, thinking, oh, you win, mate, you win. All right.
It wasn't the fact that the content was aggressive or angry, but it was just the fact that it fueled my confidence. Like, I'm not scared of anything. You know, when you, it's kind of like what you're saying, and I'm sure you can relate. Is like, you know, some people will be like, man, how do you get up in front of a crowd and perform, or how do you play your instrument, or how do you rap? And it's just like, I don't know. It's just that lack of fear, you know? It's just like, this is less scary to me than going home and my dad being drunk. You know, that's scary when you're trying to sleep and you hear him come home, or you hear him walking up the steps, and you have as a child, you're like, that's scary, man. This, all I got to do is stand in front of you and rhyme. Obviously, I'm human, so everyone gets anxious and a little bit of butterflies, but I see people out there, like, I've seen people when they have to publicly speak start crying or get so nervous they're like, I can't. Public speaking has never been a fear of mine. So maybe that was because of what the home situation was like. I'm not really sure, but you know, one thing is reflecting back on it, it did definitely fuel my confidence on lack of intimidation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very interesting. I used to hear the footsteps up the stairs when I was in bed, thinking, fucking, hopefully it's either going to be a quiet go to sleep, or it's going to be some kind of, it brings back a lot of memories, and I remember that. I think it depends on how some people react to that. Obviously, you used it as confidence and didn't go home. And I think I got kind of shyer. And so it can work differently for different people, right? And
100%.
But you know, so obviously you had that skill. Then you was confident, and was there a point you thinking, you know, I'm quite good at this, and this is something I want to pursue?
I mean, it was just the fact that people wouldn't boo me. Like, so when I was in primary school, when I was performing in front of the class, people started looking forward to my performances. So at that point, I knew I had some kind of, I didn't suck, right? I knew like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Okay, I'll just keep doing it. And then I picked up the guitar, and I was naturally able to pick it up. I bought a pair of turntables, and I was naturally able to kind of pick it up. So, and anything I did, whether it was drums, guitar, DJing, rapping, people would always look forward to hearing me. So I knew at that point that gave me more confidence and reassurance that I'm good. And back then in the 90s, like now every Desi kid raps, you know, literally every Desi kid raps. Back then, not many Desi kids rapped. And if they did, they weren't good. And once again, you know, tying it back into the fact that we're so close to America, we sounded like American artists.
Yeah.
We didn't sound like these guys rapping on Bhangra records because that's not our culture. Our culture is, hey, I listen to Wu-Tang. I don't listen to, and nothing against them. I don't listen to Safri Boys. I don't listen to Achanak. I don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
I'm watching, you know, it was really interesting when me and Roach moved to the UK and started living there, watching the differences in culture, like especially in Birmingham or Southall, when you're living there, kids would come home and watch Brit Asia. But we never had these media outlets in Canada. We don't have a BBC Asian network or a Brit Asia or ZTV, especially back then. We didn't have that. So, or Asiana magazine or whatever it may be, these things were unheard of. So coming home, we would tune into mainstream media. So we're not looking up to the Jazzy B or the Achanak or Safri Boys or whoever was big back then. We're looking up to, oh, look, Method Man and RZA are on MTV today, on Rap City today. Tupac's on Rap City. Biggie Smalls is on Rap City. Yo, I like him. Let me try to rap like him. It's just subconsciously in you. So that's basically what it was.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of point I was making about being authentic, because it wasn't like you thought, I like rapping, let me listen to all these CDs and try and copy them. You've been absorbed by this since a kid. Day in, day
out. You sleep with it. You wake up. It's the first thing you hear when you wake up. The last thing you hear when you go to sleep. You go to school and you're not surrounded by primarily South Asian people. You're surrounded by every culture in the world. So, you know, at lunchtime, you go to your friend's house and they're Jamaican and they'll give you jerk chicken and you'll be listening to reggae. And then afterwards, after school, you're playing basketball or soccer with some Arab guys and they're showing you Arab music. And you know, and then you come home and obviously in the background, your parents are watching Bollywood movies and that's being sunk in there. So and then when it comes to your time to make music, it becomes a mishmash and like a Frankenstein of all these things.
Yeah, it's amazing how we're influenced by media and music. And when we was younger, we didn't really realize, you know, how influenced we are by media, the news, and you know, like people like Fox News and all that. But as we get older, we know a lot more now. You know, the internet's kind of opened doors. And do you feel that your writing now is very different from, obviously I hope you're better than you was when you were younger, with more skill. But do you think it's more nuanced now, and there's a lot more that you're taking from the like world issues rather than, you know, you lads around in the park on a bench, you know?
Of course, because I mean, art is a reflection of life. So any good artist is going to take their experiences, and even if they're not intentionally trying to do it, subconsciously, like, you know, if you were to just look at our journey, I went from being that kid rapping on the park, and while I was in high school, Punjabi MC got a hold of my demo tape and played it in the UK. I must be the only Punjabi person in the world that doesn't have any family in England. So I had no connection to England. I didn't even know what the BBC was at this time. I've never heard of the BBC. You know what I mean? So I was local. I was freestyle battling on the streets, hanging out on benches, just doing a regular thing like a teenager does. Punjabi MC heard my tape. He got so enamored by the fact that he was like, "Are you sure the guy rapping on this is Punjabi?" And the producer was like, "Yeah, man, it's a Punjabi guy from, you know, my ends." And Punjabi MC he had never heard a guy that if he closed his eyes couldn't tell it was Asian or not. And he had a radio show back then, an online radio show called 60 Minutes of Desi. He played my entire demo tape on there. And I guess back then, because there wasn't as many outlets, the entire UK Bhangra industry used to tune into his show. So once he dedicated an entire show just to poor old me that I didn't even know what was going on, my phone and my email started blowing up.
Yeah.
And it was like, "Hey, this is the BBC. Can we play your track?" I'm like, "Sure. I don't even know what you are, but sure, here."
Yeah.
And then Universal Music called me from the UK. Like if you look back here, one of the CDs back there, that one right there, I was in high school. And you know, the conversion rate back then was 2.3 to every Canadian dollar. The British pound was, you know, really strong worldwide back then. So when you're in high school, kid, Universal Music calls you and says, "Hey, we heard your stuff on Punjabi MC show or on the Hit Squad show or whatever. You know, we want to license this track off you. We're going to give you £3,000. 2.3 times the conversion, you made like $8,000. You know, $8,000 to a 17, 18-year-old. You're the richest man in the world. I might as well be, you know, Richard Branson at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's really how the journey just started. And then touching back on the fact of, because I went from sitting on a park bench talking about what I saw and who I was with, to literally being transported and living a true immigrant experience in the UK. I landed in that country. Me and Roach landed in that country with literally like 300 quid each, not having any family, not having any friends, to dominating that industry at a certain point in time, and having more friends there than most people have, like people from there have. So when that happened, and you live in England all of a sudden for 10 years, and you're quote unquote like in this industry, and then you eventually come back to Toronto, obviously my lyrics and the content of my music is going to change, because not only am I older, but I've gone around the world. I've done things like perform at Glastonbury. I've gone to the Playboy Mansion. I've been in Bollywood movies. Like my scope of the world and understanding of the world is so much greater, and that's definitely reflected in the art.
That's amazing. I mean, that's an amazing story, because that's like Hollywood-esque, isn't it? You know, you've got a demo, and Punjabi MC of all people, you know, liked it, of all people, right? And he's played it. Universal calling you up. BBC Asia, the BBC are saying, "Can we play it?" They're pretty big, by the way, BBC. And
I realized after.
And I mean, I think that's fantastic. It's really, really exciting to hear that, you know. And you mentioned, you know, you went back to Toronto, your home, and you've done a few things. One of the things I did pick up when you went to the Playboy Mansion, could we elaborate on that part? So like,
yeah, I mean,
how does that happen? How does that happen?
So, I mean, not anyone can just go there.
No.
So
tried.
It is so top secret, and this is back in 2009. Hugh Hefner was still alive. Basically, I'm not going to say how we got there, but I'm just going to say that it's so top secret that even when you're going and you're on an exclusive invitation list, we went to the Halloween party, and when we were part of the exclusive list to go, they give you directions to an unmarked parking garage. So we're driving around in a cab, and we're like, shit, this can't be the place. And then you see a little sign taped on the door of a parking garage. And you're like, okay, you walk up, you read the sign, and it says, yeah, you know, whatever, this way. So you go in the parking garage in the stairwell, and you know how they go down underground, yeah? And we're going down underground, and slowly we're starting to hear people. And then we open the door to enter the parking garage, like on the second or third floor. And it's just full of hundreds of people in a lineup, because there's private chartered buses waiting for you. And then you have to wait, and then they check you. Do you have the invitation? Then they check your ID. Then they let you on the bus, because you cannot drive into the Playboy Mansion. You have to go on one of these exclusive private charter buses for the guests. And then we drive into the Playboy Mansion. Once again, once you get off, they check your ID and the invitation. And man, it was so surreal. Tiesto was DJing, Flow Rider performed, Paris Hilton was there. It was, you know, and obviously, because you're there, people just assume you somebody important. So people were like, you know, who are you? What do you do? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm the Punjabi Jay-Z.
Yes.
And they had no reason to doubt me, because they're like, well, you must be, because what are you doing here?
What the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah. So it was a great night. All I'll basically say is, and I'll leave the rest up to your imagination, but the Playboy Mansion, I mean, girls are naked in Playboy anyways. So at the Playboy Mansion, their Halloween outfits literally are only body paint. And obviously after you're dancing for a whole night, sweat and heat evaporates body paint. So by the end of the night, there was nothing left to the mind's imagination in terms of, you know, the people there. So it was interesting.
I think we could all thank the chemical reaction of heat at this
to
moment.
Body paint.
To body paint. Yeah. So I mean, it's a great story. I mean, you know, that's a granddad story when you're older, right? To your grandkids. Maybe the other one about Punjabi MC. But look, Blitz, it's sometimes when people do these shows, they talk about their life and they think, wow, they kind of remember themselves, and you're laughing. I could see you've taken back to that point, and you've obviously got this major connection with Roach, and you like you said, you traveled to. Did you come together to the UK?
So what's really interesting is E equals MC, which I'm sure you remember was with RDB, and he did Mahi Bedi Medi, like huge smash hits. He's from Toronto, I'm from Toronto, and Roach is from Toronto. And we were never friends, like we're all from different ends of the city. But I was doing music and I was in the west end of the city, so imagine I'm in like a Harrow, and Roach is in like East London somewhere, right? And so he had heard, you obviously hear like, Roach was getting the same reaction that I'm getting, but he's getting it in the east end of the city. And people are obviously telling him over the years, like, there's some other Punjabi kid named Blitzkrieg from Mississauga on the west side. He's good. And I would always hear his name coming up as well. But he's a bit older than me, so like we didn't have anybody in common. Things just kind of gelled. We started making music together, but we had the same common interest of wanting to go. And then somehow through friends, I got introduced to Equals MC, and Equals MC ended up moving to Leicester. So as I was coming out to the UK, as me and Roach were coming out to the UK back and forth, we found out that Bobby lived in Leicester. Sorry, I call him Bobby because his name's E equals MC. So we found out that he lived in Leicester. He had a flat. And he said, hey, listen, boys, anytime you guys are in town, I got my own flat. I live in Leicester. I'm from your town. Come just crash with me and do your stuff. So then I went and I started living in Leicester with E equals MC for a bit. You got to understand, like, the journey has been so long that, like I was saying, it's a true immigrant story. I don't think any urban Desi artist has lived the immigrant story that me and Roach have. Like, we literally didn't have anybody's contact or nothing. We landed, and the only thing I knew about England was Trafalgar Square. I didn't even know about Leicester Square. I just knew about Trafalgar Square with the pigeons. Yeah. And so I was like, we landed, and we didn't even know enough to land in Heathrow. We landed in not even Luton. What's the other one? Gatwick, sorry. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been there. But we landed in Gatwick, and then we went to central London, and we literally stood in Leicester Square in front of the Burger King every day. I brought 1,000 CDs in a backpack, and I told myself, I'm not going to eat till I sell 100 CDs every day. And we just stood, and we brought that North American hustle of, we looked like, oversized basketball jerseys, bandanas. Like, we looked like American rappers. At the time, completely different than the UK style. So we started battling, and that started getting our name out there. And that journey that I've shared with him, and it's so amazing to see him be the huge star that he is now, because me and him literally slept on people's couches, Mentor's couch. We slept on Surinder Ratan's couches. We slept on Tigerstyle's couches. Like, Bobby equals MC, when he was there, we would stay with him, and then just coming back consistently. And there was nights I remember we got paid, some promoter, it was in Nottingham, we got paid 20 quid for a gig. After that 20 quid, we walked out, and it was my gig, because I got signed to a record deal first. And Roach was coming with me as my, not quote unquote my hype man, but not only was he my good friend, but he was also pursuing the same dream. Mm-hmm. So we came out of the gig, I got paid 20 quid, and there was a fish and chip shop right across the street. And we're hungry. It's like 2 a.m. I walked across the street. I had 20 quid. I bought us both food, bought us both some Ribenas or something like that. And we literally sat on the ground and we ate, just laughing, going, bro, we're from Toronto and we're just getting by with pennies. But when you share that type of experience with somebody, Roach is always going to be my brother, like, way beyond music. Like, when we used to live in Manchester. Me and him had a flat when my first album came out, when we were touring. And one of our friends dropped off an Xbox with a projector, because we had no furniture. We literally were sleeping on mats on the ground. And but we didn't even have speakers. So our mates would drop us off DVDs. We put them in the Xbox, play it on the projector on the wall, but there's no sound. So we would do a mela in front of 10,000 people and then come home and sit on the ground watching a projector and then making our own dialogue to the movie about I'm like, what do you think he's saying right now? What do you think he's saying right now? But those immigrant hustle stories, you know, people hear about them from an older generation. Oh, you know, my dad came to England with 100 quid in his pocket. Him and his mate didn't even have a TV. They had to use. We lived that. You know, and that's what made us succeed way more than any other, and no disrespect to any South Asian rapper from England, but that's why you guys haven't been able to do what we did, because you guys haven't jumped on a plane, come to Canada, not knowing nobody, consistently for 10 years to make a name for yourselves. So not in terms of skill, all praise and due to everybody out there doing music. Everyone's talented in their own way, but your hunger and you wanting it does not match me and Roach's. We wanted it more than you. And I live by the theory of hard work trumps talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
So even if we're not the best rappers in the world, which you can argue with, you can't argue with the fact that we're going to out hustle and outwork you. And so I'm sorry for going off on such a tangent, but like it's that's our story. You know,
Yeah,
you asked about me and Roach, and I get very passionate when I think about that, because that's my brother that literally, we always say we only eat with those that starved with us, and me and him starved together.
No, don't apologize. That was that was amazing. That was really amazing. And you know, you said obviously that hustle, and you're in it together. What were there moments when you're together, maybe eating chips, and you're thinking, Roach, you know, were you looking at Roach and thinking, mate, come on, fuck this, let's go home? You know, was there hard points where you're thinking it's not happening?
Of course. I mean, even when it is happening, it's like you got to pick up on what I was saying. Is like what people don't understand is that music and entertainment is actually a very lonely career, because to succeed at it, you have to be able to give up everything. So now picture this: we're in England. You guys get to go home to your family when it's Christmas, when it's whatever holidays you have in Europe. You're gonna go and spend a meal with your families. What are we doing? We're just sitting in a flat. It's just, we don't have a car. We don't even have a driver's license in your country. You know, we're literally just, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Like, we don't have any gigs. And people don't understand that, you know, a majority of favorite artists on the way to making it, the fame comes in and the recognition comes in way before the monetary success comes in. So we'd be headlining a BBC Mela and stick it, the microphone, you stick it out and 5,000 people know the lyrics to your song. However, you're coming back to a flat, just the two of us with no TV. You know, you see us running around the streets and on TV, and hear us on the radio and this and that. You don't realize that these guys are living a true immigrant story. They don't even have a car. You know, can you imagine how we used to go to Tesco to get we didn't have a ride to go to the grocery market or Asda. We had to walk there, get groceries, fill them up with both hands, walk back. We're kids. I don't know how to cook. I lived off grilled cheese sandwiches for like 2 years. We didn't even have dishes. Yeah. We didn't have dishes, so all we'd have is the towel, paper towel. Yeah. So I didn't even have anything like a skillet to make the grilled cheese sandwiches on. So you make them with your hands, you flip them, you throw them on a paper towel, and you just sit there watching Xbox or something, eating your thing
on mute.
Yeah. On mute. Yeah. And it's funny. And then back then they had the phones where it was the top up phones where incoming calls were free. So you can't even pass the time calling people because we didn't have phone plans. Yeah. We didn't have credit cards in the UK. So we're literally just texting people for 10p a text or whatever, saying, call me back, call me back. And whoever calls you, you're just going to sit there and shoot the shit with them for an hour. Yeah, but that makes you as a man. That makes you as an individual.
100%. I think that makes you as a person. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I love when you hear these success stories about people that have done well. Then I like them stories, obviously, but I love the stories when people had it all against them, and they're literally on their own. And we used to hear all our parents saying, "Yeah, I came over with £500 or $1,000. That's all I had." But you know, when you're young, especially, I think you're living that duality of doing gigs, 5,000 people sing your songs, you know, your endorphins are through the roof. You're thinking, fucking, you're the man. And that back to reality point of, you know, we need to get some food. Let's walk to Asda. Let's walk to Asda. That's really sobering. And sometimes I think, how long can you sustain that? And I think for you and Roach to continue and to persevere and think, you know what, I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. You know, we're not going to give up. I think that says a lot about you, really, and Roach. And it really does makes the person a human being, because you have to go through adversity, I think, to be good at anything. To be, you know. And
that kind of ties into the question you asked me earlier in terms of, do you find the content of my lyrics or my art has changed? Of course it has. You know, before I was living at my mom and dad's house, I had it great. You know, my mom would, whenever I woke up, you know how it is living in a Punjabi household. My mom and my grandma were there. I wake up, anything I want aloo parota. They would just make it. I don't gotta make it. They would put it in a plate, bring it to me. As soon as I'm done eating, they would take the plate. They wouldn't even allow me to wash the plate. To go from that to only being able to eat grilled cheese sandwiches, and you don't even literally have a plate to eat off of or wash. It's, you know, I remember talking with E = MC because he can relate and he has his own stories, but he told me, you know, the PTSD he has from so many things. Like, he would do a gig. He told me these stories, but we can relate to them. Like, he would go do a gig. So he was living in Leicester, and he would go do a gig in Blackburn or something like that. And the gig would end at 2 a.m. and the promoter would say, well, if you let us give you 50 quid less, we'll get you a hotel room for the night. And Bobby would say to himself, well, you know what? The train starts running at 6 a.m. anyways. Just drop me off at the train station. And he would sleep on the bench. People don't see that E = MC is headlining a gig, but he's getting dropped off at the bench. And we were kids. You know, we're not super big gangsters or tough guys. It's scary to be in a country that you don't know nobody and you're sleeping on a train station bench at 4 a.m. You're scared. You know, we may look like all tough guys, and obviously if we have to, we'll defend ourselves, but what 21, 22-year-old kid wants to be by themselves sleeping on a train station bench? We don't know what Blackburn is. We're from Mississauga. Like, we're from Toronto. I have no clue where Blackburn is. Like, you know, what am I doing in this place by myself sleep? You know how many times I've thought that to myself? Like, what am I doing in Northampton by myself at 3 a.m. waiting for a train to take me home?
I mean, the gig you must have performed. I mean, how long were your performances for? 40 minutes, hour?
I mean, it depends, right? Like, yes, sometimes, like, it depends if you're a headliner, if you're not a headliner, things like that. There's been times where you literally just show up to do 1-2 songs and open up for somebody.
Well, that's what I mean. If you're living in Nottingham or Leicester or down south near London, and you're traveling up to Blackburn, to 2-3 songs, and then you got to come back home. I mean, it is a tough life, and you know, kudos to you for persevering.
Thank you, man.
Because these are life stories. You know, I was joking to you about, you know, Playboy Mansion, but these are real grandparent stories. These are the 100%. Ones, you know, to tell your children, or you know, other people, and say, look, don't give up. You know, this is not a problem. You know, I went through. You know, I've been eating cheese toasties fucking 10 years, right? So this is not an issue.
This is good. Yeah,
this is good, right?
This is good. You know,
because,
so
different generations. Because I think the younger kids these days, they think something's hard or something's, you know, end of the world. But you know, it's not. That's not a problem at all. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like, technology has made it so that you don't have to get on a plane and go to England and sleep on a bus train station in Blackburn. Now I just upload my song. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. It's on Instagram. And I do my media and my press interactions like how we're doing right now. But back in the day, there was no this. It would be, you know, I'm not sure exactly where you're located in the UK, but let's just say, for example, you know, you were in Glasgow. The only way for me to do this show with you, and if I wanted to be on your platform, is I would need to go to Glasgow for the night and do this with you, and then somehow get back to London or wherever I was staying. So it goes back to how bad do you want it?
Exactly. So I'm thinking now, you know, it's sort of come to me now. You may know this. I don't think there'll be people like you anymore doing that, because they won't need to travel. They could record it, at home in their bedrooms, send their vocals over to a producer in India or the UK or wherever. They get it mixed and mastered, and you could do a few video clips at home, and you kind of made a single. I don't know if many people now could have just the guts to go out and travel across the world, not knowing anyone, with a little bit of money, thinking, there is no plan B here, Roach.
Yeah. I mean, and that's reflective of, you can see it in people's interpersonal skills. Because we had to live in those situations, and because we didn't have any family or friends, we had to learn the skills of, okay, you can put me in this room, or you're going to get booked on a flight. You're going to fly to God knows who knows where. Like, we're from Canada. I'm flying out to California, let's just say, to do a show. The promoter's going to pick you up, a geezer that you've never met before. You're by yourself. They're going to take you to the hotel. And then after that, they're going to take you to the pre-party or the after party. You're going to do the show. You're by yourself. You have to have the interpersonal skills to be able to be dropped into any social situation and make conversation. The art of conversation is lost. I love the art of conversation. That's why I love the idea of a podcast, is when someone's intellectual and articulate, it's such a great conversation back and forth. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about music.
No.
But how many of these people, because they're not going through those hardships or sleeping on, train station benches or whatever, and being forced. I find that now, a lot of the generation, I'm not saying everyone, because obviously there's exceptions to everything, but now people just, if they don't want to deal with something, they just shy away from it. Are you familiar with the concept of ghosting?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ghosting is like the biggest thing among young people. Is if you and me are talking, whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's just a friendship or a business relationship, and I don't want to deal with the confrontation, I just ghost you and I disappear from your life. Wherefore, back in the day, I couldn't ghost you. If you had a problem with me, we would have to deal with it and talk about it.
Yeah, and solve our solutions by talking. I might not agree with you, but we might come to some compromise and say, I don't agree, but shake hands and off you go. You're absolutely right. Ghosting, even the block button. Someone may say something negative towards you. You block them, but I think you end up living in a silo, in a little bubble, and
you do.
Where the only opinion you hear is the one that you want. And if you're thinking the world's flat, and you just hang around with Facebook groups about flat earthers, they all agree with you, you're never going to see the other point of view that actually the world could be round, so
and that's what analytics is all based on, right? So based on the things that you browse or you like and the people you follow is only what you see. You're not seeing anything else. And that's kind of similar to, it's funny enough talking about just only what you see. While I've been on the press run for this new album, what's hilarious is all the things. I've never disappeared. I've been doing, I have this beside me. I was on Gully Boy. This is the biggest come out since Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. It broke every record. What's hilarious is sometimes I'll go on a platform and people are like, oh, the return of Blitz, where have you been? And I'm like, bro, just because I'm not in your analytics doesn't mean I don't have a career and consistently thrive. And I always have to reprogram myself, because initially it gets me upset. Like, what do you mean? I've been consistently working. Look at my achievements. But then I have to sit back and be like, it's not their fault. It's the way society is right now. This is their analytics. They only subscribe to these channels. And unless you're on one of these channels, or you follow this meme page, or you do this, and I'm not on it, to you, I haven't been anywhere.
Yeah.
So we only see and hear what we subscribe to and what the analytics want us to subscribe and hear to.
So that's interesting, because in a sense, art and the world it's purely being influenced by algorithms, and
100%.
So we've got these companies in America, in Silicon Valley, kind of deciding what I like, just by potentially clicking on some website, because I might listen to salsa music, and now they constantly think I'm into salsa music. I'm not, and so stop sending me shit. And so But do you know what I mean? And you end up being in silo, and you're absolutely right, because for you to go on an interview and someone said, "Oh, the comeback of Blitz," you must be thinking, "What the fuck, man? I've just been on a film."
Yeah. I was like,
it's a good big film.
It's a big ass film. Like I've been selling music to Sony Music, Universal Music. So it's interesting. You know, one thing I've realized through this whole process of releasing this new project is that there's so many outlets nowadays and so many ways to consume music. You cannot be everything to everyone.
No,
it's impossible. It's literally, there's not enough time and not enough manpower out there to make sure that everyone knows. So everyone's into segment marketing is the new big thing, right? It's hey, I like Desi hip hop from Toronto, Canada. Me and Roach will show up. But if you like Bhangra music from Punjab, India, you're not going to know who the hell we are. And that's okay. That's okay. Before, when we started coming over to the UK, there was quote unquote gatekeepers, right? Like there was only a few ways to get yourself known and heard. If you were on the BBC stations, if you were on Just Bhangra TV show on ZTV, if you were on Brit Asia and Eastern Eye magazine, and you were able to get on a freshers tour, you were automatically a household name in the UK. You could dominate the UK. And that's how we did it in those times. We only really hit 3-4 of the key outlets, and we were able to make a name for ourselves. You know, but now, because there are no gatekeepers, it's a free for all. It's okay, whatever you're into, you're going to subscribe to that, and we're going to show up in your algorithm, and that's it.
Yeah, it's a very different transition for you. So you've kind of seen it from both ends, where, you know, you've been in a traditional, the Eastern Eye newspaper in the UK, but now you're kind of having to manage your brand. Like Blitzkrieg is a brand, and that's kind of how everyone is. You know, everyone's a brand in a sense, because that they have their profiles on Instagram or whatever, right? And but so that's kind of work in itself. Apart from making the art and the music and recording, the social media aspect of it's a lot of work, right? How do you find that, or do you think are you quite comfortable? Because I remember that the Canadians, we always thought in the UK were kind of a few years ahead of us in regards to social media. They were quite comfortable going on, and whereas the UK were kind of slow. Like podcasts were bigger, I think, in Canada first, about, you know, and then the UK, because I started in 2015.
Right.
And I struggled because I had to keep explaining to people, this is not, you know, this is not internet radio. It's a podcast. What's a podcast? Fuck it, yeah, it's internet radio, right? I used to give up, right? And, because it was so hard. But now there's so many. But so I always used to think people struggled here in the UK, maybe with social media, the artists. But I think Canadians and Americans seem to be better at it. Did you find it comfortable transition, or? Well,
what's weird is, it's funny you touched on that. Like, I find myself as a hybrid of a Canadian and a British artist. I've spent so much of my career in Britain that when I walk down the street sometimes in Toronto, people are like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm Canadian." They're like, "You are? I always thought you were British," because of my associations and the people I work with and the amount of time. So I say that in the sense of, because I spent so much time in England, I was hesitant to get onto social media, much like a lot of the British artists. And I jumped on it late. And then when I did jump onto Instagram, let's just say, for example, it wasn't until, I would say, within the last 12 months that I made my account public. I had a private account with only maybe 500 friends on it. And it was everyone from the industry. So, you know, it was me, Roach, Bobby Friction, Rishi, Juggy, whatever. We were all kind of friends. But I was like, I noticed like a lot of the British artists were like that too, like of a certain age group, you know, where it was like, I don't want my life out there. I don't want to share everything about my life. But when you realize that, hey, this is an integral part, this is the new radio station, this is the new television station. So, you know, this in itself is a record company in your hand. This is your distribution, this is your marketing, this is your everything. So when you realize that, you're like, you know what, I have to be okay with it. But you just be conscious in terms of what you share and what you don't. So the day I decided to make my account public, I thought to myself, okay, None of my family is going to be on this because that has nothing to do with you. Where I live is not going to be on this because that has nothing to do with you. You like Blitzkrieg for Blitzkrieg's music, so come here for Blitzkrieg's music and music-related stuff. Everything else, if I choose to share it, I will. Otherwise, no. And so I think that's kind of really the medium is understanding. And then spending a lot of time with younger artists, you kind of start to see what it is. And you know, if you're wise, you'll learn by watching someone else, you know, okay, this is how these guys are doing it now. So let me kind of mend both worlds. Let me still do the traditional stuff that I know, but let me mend all this and incorporate this new social media in it as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's similar with podcasting as well. Like I said, when I started 2015, very different. Obviously, social media helped. Right. And there's a lot of new podcasts out now, younger guys, and fresh perspectives. And really good at social media, which is so annoying for me because I have to work quite hard at it, right? But I learn from them. I'm like you. I'm look at them and think, all right, they're kind of doing that. It's really cool, you know. And I might try and incorporate that a little bit in there. And you got to move in the times. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm 45 now, right? And you know, and my kids are 6 and 8. And when I talk to them and I say, what do you want to be when you're older? You know, that old question. And they go, we want to be YouTubers. And, you know, it's like, what?
What is that? Yeah.
I mean, they look at my channel on YouTube because I put these out on YouTube as well. And they go, how many subscribers you got, Dad? And I said, they go, have you got 1 million? I go, no, I haven't got 1 million subscribers. And they go, this girl has, and she's like a 7-8-year-old girl playing with dolls. 3.2 million views. And that's their comparison of success. Because that's what they're looking at. They're thinking, no.
That's their generation. You know what the scary part is like, so what I've started doing, and you know, I got into a really bad motorcycle accident. So me and Roach are avid motorcycle riders. And in November, I got into a nearly fatal motorcycle accident on the motorway in Toronto. So I was surgery on me. They had to like literally install screws and plates into my leg. And I couldn't even walk. Like till this day, I'm still learning how to walk again, going to physiotherapy. But through that process, and you know, we could touch on that more if you want. But like through that process, what I noticed was, you know, I had nothing to do in the hospital for 3 months, but be on my phone on Instagram. I was bored, and I was watching, and I thought to myself, you know what? When I get out of here, because I was watching all these young guys like holding a phone, sitting in their car, rapping in it or singing, and I'm like, man. Not only am I way better than these guys, but the production quality is shit. We come from a generation of if you're going to put it out, it's got to be fucking good. Not just sitting in your car rapping on a beat through the radio. It sounds like shit. It looks like shit. I'm not doing that. So I got out. I thought to myself, every Sunday from when I get out of this hospital, I'm going to put out a new video on my Instagram. So every Sunday at 11 a.m. Toronto time, 4 p.m. UK time, I put out a new video. My Instagram's @BlitzMusic1 if you want to follow me. And I've been doing that consistently for the last 20 weeks, and I have enough content to keep going for the rest of the year. But I bring that up to tie into the fact with social media, no matter how much I do, my followers have drastically increased, the analytics, the engagements drastically increased, but you realize that there's no loyalty. Like the second I stop, the second I miss a Sunday, they're just on to the next creator that's going to provide them entertainment. You know, we come from a generation of if you released a product, let's use Juggy D, for example. Juggy D dropped an album in, I think, 2003. The single Sony, I think it was 2005, something like that. He lived off of that album, touring that album worldwide for 10 years. No, I'm not saying everybody should take 10 years, but it's an example of our favorite artists would release a project and a body of work every three years, and you would have to live with that body of work, and they would tour it, and it would grow. Now, it's a 30-second reel. You know, Instagram allows you to upload 1-minute videos in a post. So I thought to myself, you know what? Instead of putting out a new song, I'm just going to put out a 50-second video of a freestyle or a song every week. I can do that, no problem. And some of the, not criticism, some of the advice I've been getting from the younger people is, oh, Blitz, you know what you should do? You should make this a reel. And I'm like, Giza, a reel is 30 seconds. So now I've taken a traditional 3-minute song and condensed it to a 1-minute song. And this younger generation is basically saying, this 1-minute song's too long, brother. Make it 30 seconds so it's just quickly consumable.
Yeah.
With 30 seconds, how much of a song can I convey to you?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? So it's keeping up with the media and the times, but it's like, how much is enough? You have your kids saying, Dad, this girl has 3 million subscribers. But even if you told yourself, okay, you know what, Seth, I'm going to make a podcast once a week, put it up for a whole year to engage my subscribers and drive my subscribers up. That's fine. You can have the subscribers, but the second you miss a week because there's a wedding in your family or someone's passed away or you've gone on vacation, you're out of there.
Yeah.
You are out of there.
Yeah. So you're right. And it's, we're kind of becoming slaves to the beast. We've got to feed
to the content creation. Yeah.
It's a, if you look at it, it's genius model, isn't it? Like Facebook and Instagram. So they basically got a website, but they have no content themselves. We have to make the content for them.
And drive people to their platform,
to their website. It's genius, right? And but I understand, and you're absolutely right about YouTube, because I had a break last year from November. I thought I'd have a week off. Then there was a lockdown here in the UK, probably like in well, my kids were at home, so I had to homeschool, so I couldn't do any podcasts. And my engagement because it was doing quite well before, was dead. For the next show I had out, it was just dead, because YouTube have decided, like, this guy's fucked. Forget him. He's done. He's done. He needs to feed us. So obviously it'll start building up again. But it's a very interesting sort of psyche that we live in, and how we engage success. I mean, you lifted up the album there from
the Gully Boy vinyl,
and that's success, obviously, to you, right? But for other people, it's purely a number. Yeah. So you got like Instagrammers, with girls, just showing their asses off, and that's a whole page on just. I mean, I follow them just for research, but
research purposes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? There's no substance to what they're doing, but they're hugely successful, and they're having collaborations with brands, for makeup and I don't know, gym gear or whatever, right? So it's kind of skewed people's or youngsters' idea of what success is. Your success would have been, I want to release an album. I want to work with so-and-so. I want to write songs that I'm proud of. That's success to you, I sometimes think, what do these young rappers or any artists, singers, musicians, podcast, what do they deem success? Is it purely a download number? Is it purely I've got 250 likes for my last post?
Well, I mean, it's funny, because with maturity and life experience, you realize that success is defined in the eyes of the beholder. So my idea of success is going to be different than your idea of success, as it should be, right? However, with a lot of people that are younger, they're so caught up in the analytics and the numbers that they don't realize, for example, that, let's use Apache Indian, for example. Apache Indian, because he's obviously older and an older artist, when he first joined Instagram, I remember he had less than 10,000 followers initially when he joined. And, if somebody who doesn't know Apache was to see him, they'd be like, that's kind of impressive, but he's not a mega superstar. But the man, me and him were having a conversation about this exact topic, and he said he sold millions of records around the world and has been touring the world, making a living off of music for 20, 30 years now. So that is the definition of success. What these kids what they need to realize is, hey, my post may only have 100 likes on it, and I may only have, let's just say, for example, 5,000 followers, but I know how to continuously monetize off of this and do Bollywood movies and tour the world and get booked, and people want to hear my story. Okay, you have 100,000 followers on your Instagram, but have you monetized off it?
Yeah. If you was to have a gig, not you, them people.
Yeah, anyone, yeah.
is anyone going to turn up? Or
they're not going to.
They're not going to turn up, are they?
No, man. And the other sad thing is it's so easy to buy fake followers and fake likes. You go to anybody's page. I've seen artists that have 75, 80,000 followers on Instagram, and just for shits and giggles, I'll go look at every single post and it has one comment on it.
Yeah.
How is that fucking possible?
Yeah,
that 75,000 people saw this post, but only one person commented? It doesn't make sense.
No. Well, 70,000 people and 100 of them have liked it. Ow.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are the other people doing? You either really got terrible followers and you're not supplying the content that they want, or it's fake. Yeah. And it's going to be bots and, you know, Russians probably, or Chinese bots, you know, because they're very good bots. So if you want to buy bots or followers, I would go there. India's probably third, right? And but that's how they do it. These record companies, right? You know, when they have an artist, I think they have packages, don't they, to boost up their social media presence by buying them. It's kind of sad in a way, but it's inevitable, and I don't think that's going to ever go away. But I think what you're saying is legacy, what you're going to leave behind, Blitz, because it's going to be, you know, not an Instagram page of 100,000 followers. It's going to be pure art and music.
And that's the thing, and the best is if you can merge both of them together. So when I came out of the hospital, I thought to myself, you know what? Instead of being this typical guy that just posts once in a while and just be like, yeah. Fuck it, man. As soon as I got out of the hospital, I recorded 3 albums on top of demo tapes. I have 4 albums worth of material, including demo tapes, and enough videos to last the rest of the year, just to be like, you know, forgive my language, but just to be like, fuck you. I can do it. Not only am I going to do it as consistently as you, I'm probably going to outdo you, and then I'm going to provide better, higher visual and audio content with it. So, but the real struggle I have with myself, or the question, it's not a struggle, is, okay, do I just keep up at this pace? Like, how long am I going to keep up a pace of releasing a video every week? I have a life. I have a career. I have a family. I have bills. I like going to the gym. I like going on vacation. What am I going to do? So really, it's finding that balance of, you know, just not being a slave to the social media. Quality, but finding that medium of just not posting at all and being that hermit with a private account to let me utilize this tool to display my talent. Because it's funny, anyone you meet nowadays, whether you're a podcaster or you're a rapper or an author, first thing they do is, you rap, what's your Instagram? And right in front of you, they'll check your Instagram. And based on your Instagram, first they look at the followers. And then at that point is they decide whether they're going to give you respect or not. You know, you approach somebody, you say, yo, you know, my name's Sad, I have a podcast, I'd love to have you on there. If I didn't know you, I'd be like, right. Oh, yo, what's your Instagram? I'm going to check out your Instagram and be like, yo, this guy has 400 followers. Like, what do I care about being on his podcast? But if I was to go on and you had 200,000 followers, I'm like, this is a good opportunity for me. This man's legit. It's like that episode of, you ever seen that show Black Mirror?
Yeah.
You ever seen that episode where they have the person's value in life is based on their social media currency?
Yeah.
Like you get invited to a wedding or you won't get invited to a certain restaurant. That's literally the times that we're living in. Drake threw a concert in Toronto before the pandemic a couple of years ago. And it was a small venue where I think only maybe 2,000-3,000. This is an artist who sells out arenas. He threw an intimate concert, but just to get into the concert, first of all, tickets were $1,000 to get in. But just to get into the concert, you needed to have over 10,000 followers on social media.
God.
So we've gotten to the stage where people in front of your face evaluate your value in their life based on your social media. In front of your face, how rude is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, you have a podcast, what's your Instagram? And I'll literally look at it in front of you and just be like, all right, cool, man. It's either you're going to get one or it's, yeah, we should work together, bro. It's not, it's that an amazing journalist and an interviewer. It's not that, let me listen to Blitz's album to see this brother can spit, this brother can rhyme. It's, you know, what's his following?
I mean, you know, I don't know if you know, in China, they have a social currency now. So
do they?
Yep, they absolutely. It's there.
Wow.
So in China, the way it works is, if you interact with people and you're good, obviously your currency is high, and then you can apply for mortgages and loans because the bank will look at your social currency. But however, if you had a criminal record or you done some discretion when you was 18 years old and you may have had a fight with someone in a pub or a bar, your social credit will be down. So, like a credit check for mortgages and business, that's what they do as a social credit check. And that's what they have in China right now in 2021. That series of Black Mirror, I've seen that same one where she's trying to get to a wedding, right? And that's happening. It's in China. And
that is complete madness. Just think about that for a second. That is madness.
And also China's got so many CCTV cameras. So you may be able to hide if you've done something, if you're drunk and you're taking a piss in the alley or something, right?
Yeah.
They can see you, right? And so you might be going to get a loan from a bank and the bank will say, well, remember last week, we know that you went out, right? And
you took a piss in the alleyway.
Took a piss in the alley. And actually, if you didn't take that piss, we probably would have given you a loan, right? Obviously, I'm, taking the piss.
I mean, let me tell you something, brother. If they had that in the UK, I don't think any Punjabi guy would ever get a mortgage ever again.
They're all pissing in alleys.
Pissing in alleyways behind the pub. Are you having a laugh?
Yeah, it won't work here.
It'll never work there.
But that's kind of where we've got to, right? And you're absolutely right. And that point of judging people without actually looking at the content of their character, but rather the content of their Instagram. It's a terrible situation, really, and it's only going to get worse. And if my kids are judging their own father for the amount of subscribers by comparing me to someone else, how are they going to look at themselves as humans?
Well, and that's the thing, right? And it's the inflated numbers that are making it unrealistic in terms of, I'll show you a perfect example. I had a song, it's my song, me, Deep Jandu, Roach Killa, and Apache Indian. I signed it to Sony Music. We top-notch video. We released it. It's called Honest. You guys can go check it if you want. But it got 500,000 views, right? For me, because I know those are real, that is huge. Wow, 500,000 people, whether they liked it or they don't, watch my video around the world. Who am I? I'm just Tony from Toronto. I saw comments under it saying, "Oh, it's what? That's it? Only 500,000 views. This song's so great. I wish I had more views." Like, only 500,000 views. Guys, listen to me. These videos you see coming out from India saying 1 million views in 24 hours, unless you are like Sidhu Moosewala or somebody up there, those are Drake type numbers. Drake is arguably, which is a totally separate conversation, but Drake is arguably the most popular entertainer of our generation. Okay, he's this generation, to these kids, he's their Michael Jackson. Yeah. He's that big, okay? He sold more records and won more awards than the Beatles and Michael Jackson. So that's how big he is. How the hell is some Punjabi singer gaining the same amount of views and numbers and streams as Drake within 24 hours? It's impossible. Yeah. But these young kids, like how you're saying, your children are growing up and they're like, "Dad, look at this girl. She has 3 million subscribers. Look at Sidhu Moosewala. Look at this bloke from Croydon that just started rapping yesterday that has 1 million views in 24 hours. How is that possible?" Yeah. So they're evaluating themselves in terms of, if I don't get 500, like if I don't get 1 million views in 24 hours, my song is a flop. It wasn't even worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if people listening to this and any young kids, you gotta try and be aware and educate yourselves, because do not look at these numbers, because a lot of them are fake. It's bullshit. I'm telling you guys, it's bullshit, right? When you look at 1 million views for a song, why don't you just listen to the song? If you like the song, that's your song, right? Doesn't matter about the numbers. Surely that, because we're a different generation, right? Me and you, right? I don't listen to a song because it's got 1 million over. Because I see them little posters that the singers from India mainly
100 million views in 24 hours.
Spanner, shut the fuck
Get
up.
the fuck out of here, man. Like, you know, but so you have to admit, in terms of marketing, it's also genius in the sense where I've seen that before, where if I see some Desi rapper I've never seen before and it says 20 million views, I'd be like, what the fuck? Okay, let me watch this. What has garnered 20 million views?
You know what? There's a sense of fear of missing out, you know, FOMO, because when you see 20 million views, you think, who's this guy? I've never heard of him. Why have I not heard of him?
Why do I not know about this individual?
Exactly, right.
You know, or if you're in the industry like ourselves, as a musician, you're like, okay, what is he doing? Is he onto something new that I need to be paying attention to incorporate in my music? What is this new wave that this guy has garnered 20 million views? You know, but the true test of that, guys, if you're someone that's young, that's trying to get in the music industry, that's watching this or whatever, the true test of that is, will that individual be doing an interview 20 years into his career?
Exactly.
All those views can come and go, but will there still be substance? Will they, you know? So that's really what it breaks down to, brother.
No, I agree with you 100%. And, you know, look at Gangbang Style. That was the first billion views, weren't it, on YouTube, I think. But no one knows where that guy is now. He's
Gangnam Style,
That's it, right? And where is he now? He's nowhere, right? And he's not. We're not going to look back in 10 years and say, look, kids, I'm going to put this song on for you. This is like some piece of art. This is, you know, where we now would put on Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan or something.
Yeah, of course.
Listen to this guy.
You know, it's funny. And then I'll kind of tie this into demo tapes, is that this entire project, including 600cc, I'm glad you mentioned this and we're talking about things standing the test of time. This project that me and Roach have just literally started telling people, every song on this project was recorded between 2003 and 2010. 600cc, which is playlisted on the BBC and playlisted by Spotify India and is crushing it right now in every form, is a song that me and Roach recorded in 2009 in Equals MC's basement.
Wow.
So I haven't even remixed them. These are literally the exact files that were sent to me and I just had sitting on an external hard drive. And I put it out and me and Roach have been laughing in the sense we're like, bro, 600cc from 2009 to 2021 is a 12-year-old song. And if we didn't tell you that it was 12 years old, you would think we literally just recorded in the past 12 months and put it out. Like, right, this is a new Blitzkrieg single. We're going to go with it. Rah, rah, rah. No. Good music is timeless.
Absolutely.
And I've just proven that with 600cc. No one even... The BBC has it. Spotify India playlisted it. Fresh new sound. New Music Friday. Blah, blah, blah. New Music Friday. I recorded this in 2009. I haven't touched the file. So much to the point when I was trying to upload it to Spotify, it was bouncing back because the quality was too low. I just changed the file format and re-uploaded it and they took it. I'm like, man, this is the point though, to what we were saying is don't get caught up on the numbers. These people with these numbers, real music is timeless. Real music, you can put on Michael Jackson's Lady in My Life from Thriller. Today, that shit sounds amazing. You can take any Nusrat song today, listen to it, and be like, this man's vocal abilities and the notes and chords that he's hitting are unmatched. You know, so it's this highly disposable art. It may get the clicks, but it will not stand the test of time.
No, 100% agree with you. And you know, look, coming towards the end, Blitz, I've had a fantastic time speaking to you.
It's been interesting, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we've been through a long road with you, and you know, some bumpy times and some fantastic. But I think for you, what I've got from you is that you're not looking for the clicks and the likes and the views. You're trying to just make, like you've always done, it's just to make your music the best you can, quality music, and that's what you're more interested in, right? And like you said, it's good to have big social media following, of course it is. It's good to have good music, but if you can get the two together, that's obviously what you're doing, you know. And I have listened to your single, and it does sound like you made it last year or a few months ago. It doesn't look like. You're absolutely right. I would never in my wildest dreams think, oh, this sounds like from the 90s or the 2020 or whatever, right? It sounds old. It's an old style. Or they're trying to do a retro beat here. I just thought it's a new song that's come out, right? And so this is from a punter's point of view. You're right. You're absolutely right. But, you know, future plans for yourself, Blitz, you know, are you kind of a structured person? Do you have plans, 5-year plans, 1-year plans, or are you more free flowing than that?
I'm always, it's a bit of both, where my friends always laugh. They nickname me the planner. So I'm that guy for having a night out. I'm the guy who's going to be like, right, I'll get everybody together. I'll organize where we're going to meet, where we're going, what's happening, what spot has the cool stuff, or what spot has the best food. Like, I'm very planned that way. I'm very meticulous in terms of, before I roll something out and I start making a ray about myself, I'm going to have the clip full of ammunition, to say the least. So I have 3 more albums. I have videos, enough music videos to last me the rest of the summer. The mistake a lot of artists make is they get excited and they'll put one product out and then you'll just never hear from them. I'd rather just kind of go off like a machine gun. When you do see me pop up, it's like, right, this man's gonna hit us with 3 albums now. We're gonna consistently be hearing his music for the next couple weeks or the next couple months, and then I'll disappear and I'll live life again, because art depicts life. How can I give you new music that doesn't sound recycled and regurgitated if I haven't lived a new experience? I just got in a motorcycle accident. I was in the hospital. I have to learn to walk again. That has inspired a wave of 20 weeks worth of freestyle video content and 3 albums worth of content that are about to come out. How could it not? You're about to hear all that stuff. But before I did that, I thought, you know what? Let me wet their beaks with demo tapes, which is all my previously digitally unreleased products, put them out there, package it, push 600cc out, and then come with a new product. So I have 3 more albums. They're going to come. I think with me is like the struggle is trying to figure out as I grow and get accustomed to social media is, do I just drop them back to back to back? Or do I give them time to breathe? Do I come I have 5 more videos coming, which will take me to mid-July. And then right after mid-July, in August, do I drop another album and then do a complete new press run again? Do I just drop the album and not do a press run and let it just breathe? What is the right way? You don't know, 600cc has come across your spectrum because of Raj or whatever, but will you hear a single from me? Will it even be on your radar? Maybe because we'll follow each other on social media now. But other than that, what is the right formula? But I will be here. Anybody that follows me at Blitz Music One, I'll always consistently just keep releasing stuff. Slow and steady wins the race. And it's a marathon, not a race. I'm jogging that steady, slow jog, just going to the end,
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I'm jogging with you because when I had this podcast, I said, "Sat, man, I like the podcast. Fucking too long, mate. Too long.
Yeah.
And do it for half an hour." I said, "I'm not going to interview. Like Blitz, I'm talking to you. I might not speak to you again. Yeah. I'm not going to let you go until I've asked everything I want to ask and to get to know you, right?
Of course.
Because I want a proper conversation, and I don't want to do half an hour. So I'm like you. I'll rather do long form." Because everyone's doing short form. I want it to be different. I want a proper conversation. I'm not just doing it for the sake of putting out shows.
Right.
I enjoy the conversation, right? And so I think you're gonna do fantastic, whatever you do, because the fact that you're in hospital after a motorcycle accident and you're having to look on social media, rather than get depressed and looking at all the other artists doing things, and you're in a situation that you can't control now. You're actually formulating plans of what you're going to do when you get out. I think that really shows the kind of character of a man that you are.
Thank you, brother.
Because I always think to myself, what would I do in that situation? I think I'd be kind of pretty depressed. I don't know if I'd be planning my social media presence and how I can improve it. Different characters. And I think it takes characters like you and a strength of will and resilience, obviously, which you've built up from all that time being the immigrant coming to the UK and working your ass off to make it where you are. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
It's been fantastic speaking to you. And before you go, though, do you have a message for people listening, and also your social media tags? I'll drop the links anyway, but if anyone listening on audio, they can.
Yeah, definitely follow me at Blitz Music 1. That's the number 1 on Instagram. You know, YouTube, just if you type Get Blitz, one word, it'll take you to my page, and you know, you can see all my videos throughout the years of performing at Miller's, Glastonbury, just all the music videos. I've documented almost everything. So, you know, if you don't know who I am and you've been listening to this going, right, this geezer's probably talking shit, I've never heard of him, who is this guy? Go on my YouTube channel and you'll be like, rah, this guy really is who he says he is. So, you know, and my message is success is different for everyone. So if you're watching this or you're listening to this, everyone's definition of success is different beast. So, you know, just follow your passion, realize that life is a marathon, it's not a race. And always be true to yourself, man. And the real definition of success overall, whether it's money or whatever, is just happiness. Whatever you do in life, just make sure you're happy. I like to rap. I like to ride motorcycles. It makes me happy. I'm gonna keep doing it. You do what you got to do. And you know, peace and love to everyone, man.
Blitzkrieg, it's been fantastic. It's a great message
Amazing.
to leave on, a positive message. And you still want going on a motorcycle? What are your fans?
Hell yeah, we ain't never stopping, man. You know, and it's funny that I released 600cc as a single, because just to leave you guys with it, it's a metaphor for, it's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get back up. So 600cc, people might say, raw, this man was in the hospital off a motorcycle and then he releases 600cc as his next single. Is he mad? No, I understand the irony in it, but it's a metaphor for myself, to remind myself, it doesn't matter how many times you fall off, get up, get back on that thing. It doesn't own you, you own it. You know, and so that's my message in life, man. And I hope if anybody's ever watching this, or my grandkids ever watch this, I mean, I don't have children, but you know, whoever watches, my nieces, nephews, at least I hope, you know, I leave the legacy of somebody it's dedicated and a hard worker, and I never give up.
You know what? I'm not going to add anything to that, Blitzkrieg. That's fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you, brother.